Okay. So, yeah, so today what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about Protocol Builder and give you a training on how to use it. My understanding is that most of the people in the room are residents. Is that correct?
No. No.
No. Okay, good. Well, I just want to get it right then. So let me know who's in the room so I make sure to address the right kind of topics.
So we have some fellows, which you can consider residents, I guess. A couple program directors, some coordinators.
A couple librarians.
And then Jane.
And then me, Jane Dumpster. Hi.
Fantastic. Okay, great. That gives me a better picture here. Yeah, so today what I thought we would cover, come on, work. How come it's not working? I guess they took out that slide. What I want to do is go over, the basics of Protocol Builder, make sure you know how to use all the key features. I want to, talk a little bit about how you can make, customize a template and push it to others, which people like program directors might find particularly interesting. Excuse me. And I'm going to make sure when we do this that we also do a little bit of review and like how to use the reference feature and all that kind of thing, just really show it to you in one pass. So, and then we'll go over some, if we have time, some FAQs and any troubleshooting things that I think might be useful for you guys to know. And then what we're going to do is we're going to record this session, and so that you guys can, post it and, review it later, or new people can review it as well. So does that sound like a good agenda?
Yep, sure.
Excellent. All right, so let's talk about Protocol Builder a little bit. Again, this is more of a user training, so I'm not going to do that much of the marketing stuff, but just to give you, a quick overview though. Right now, Protocol Builder has 19 standard templates. I'll be showing you in a couple minutes how we access them. So you can see that we have everything from ones that you might be using the most, maybe like the retrospective chart review and the observational retrospective. But again, we have a whole slew, going right through interventional, drug and device. We also have social behavioral, interventional behavioral. So we have a whole group of protocol templates that you can use based on your needs. So one of the nice things about Protocol Builder, of course, is you can access it at any time. We're going to, I'm working, I know Jane had talked yesterday about maybe signing some people up a different method, but regardless, we can either sign you up. We have a sign-in, sign-up page set up for you guys. We can also preload people for you if you'd like us to load them for you. And then basically, you'll have a username, which is your email address, and then your password, which you'll have set up. And you can always also go to www.protocolbuilderpro.com and use the login link in the upper right to get in if you need to that way. All right, so let's actually go ahead and get right into Protocol Builder now. So I'm going to bring up, here we go. So what I've done so far is I've actually just opened it up. Okay, so how might I have opened it up? I mean, normally what you would do is you might use the sign-in, sign-on page and then just use your username and password. Or as I mentioned, you can go to protocolbuilderpro.com as well, which I'm showing you right here. And in the upper right-hand corner is the login area. So that's all you need to do to get logged into Protocol Builder. Now this is going to be the front screen you're going to see. And then there's some useful things here I want you to be aware of. First of all, up in the upper right, we have our tools, our kind of tool menus. The one that is first good to be aware of is the help menu. Yes.
Could you minimize the GoToMeeting screen in the upper right, please?
What is that about?
Is that us?
What is that?
That's you guys. Yeah, I already did.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
We're good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. No worries. And by the way, on your recording, you won't see that, just so you know. So we are in the help area, and in the help area is a few things. Now, we have a basic user training, like which we're recording today. So you might want to use the one we do specifically for PCOM. But, again, the basic user training is there. And then we have some more advanced topics, some other trainings. Advanced user training here is about 45 minutes long, and the other ones are, under 10 minutes. So they're just helpful in getting you up to speed on doing, the different parts of Protocol Builder. We also do a couple of free trainings a month. We do a free introductory training like this one. We do a free advanced training on some specific topic. which we send information to your account to know when we're doing them, and you guys are welcome to join that. We also have a screen-oriented Take a Tour, which, again, helps you learn how to use the product. And then we have a more textual-oriented user guide that you can also use. And by the way, these FAQs are technical FAQs. They're not marketing FAQs. Fortunately, we don't have to have a whole bunch of them. But for example, sometimes people are wondering why they're getting weird characters in their printout, and they copied from, let's say, Microsoft Word, and they didn't realize that track changes were turned on in Word, so that's why they're getting those weird characters. Stuff like that. We're trying to give you the stuff you might need. We also have a help desk that's open 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. You see me noting in the side here. Just to give you a note, last month we had 5 people hit this all together. So fortunately, I think that says we have a pretty easy to use program. But nevertheless, when you have questions and needs, you're going to want them answered quickly. So we do have that facility. So that's over in the help section. Another section I want to bring your attention to is the resource section. And the resource section, what we've tried to do is pull together a bunch of resources that typically are desired to write protocols and even, just do research design. So, for example, when you come to like the external links, you're going to see links to a lot of the places that you might need to go to do, kind of research compliance work. And the idea here is to make it easier for you, so you don't have to run all over the internet. There's some other stuff like the clinicaltrials.gov glossary. We have a section with forms, with FDA forms that we work to keep up to date. That's kind of a nice thing. You got to be careful where you pull resources, because sometimes you're pulling down old resources. And then another section here that's really useful for this group I think I'm talking to is our resident new investigator resources. We have these useful articles here. These articles are actually a bit broader than just pure protocols. Some of them are about research design in general. They're here for your use. By the way, if you're a program director and you want to use some of this content in some curriculum you're creating, you have the right to do that with your institutional licenses to Protocol Builder. So feel free to cut and paste and use any of this content that you want. And so there's some very useful, pieces in here to help you, create your protocols. And then over on the far left here is our protocol file cabinet, and this are all the protocols that you've either created or you're in the cover sheet for. And we'll come back to this later, but we'll talk about the different versions and what they mean and some of these other symbols a little bit later. But right now, what I'm going to do though is show you how we would do a protocol. And there's a couple places we can do this in Protocol Builder. One is from the home page, and one is from this, from the Protocol File Cabinet page. So once I go ahead and I click on starting a new protocol, it's going to basically ask me the basics that I want to do. So I'm going to call this PCOM 222, and I'm going to put, I'm going to be the principal investigator. I'm going to use my stage name of Carl Sagan with a K. And I'm loaded them up, and now what I can do is I can go and just pick right from the list and pick whichever protocol I believe I want. Now, if I'm not sure which one I want, we do have a wizard that helps using a decision trees help you find the correct one. So you can go ahead and say, yes, I have a repository, and then, this is a part of a larger study. By the way, here you're seeing some of our tool tips. These tool tips, you're going to see them throughout, are really where we give you the guidance to these areas. You're going to find that we have gotten pretty extensive guidance throughout the product. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just pick observational for this demonstration. And then based on the things I put in, it gave me an observational perspective with repository. And so now I'm in the cover sheet. And the cover sheet, I'm the first principal investigator because I set this up. And now I can add my other people that I need to add to my study. Now, the nice thing about the Protocol Builder cover sheet is it's not just the cover sheet. We're actually going to be doing real collaboration, and we'll be using people's names and information from the cover sheet area. So the people, you want to put people in the study who are going to be working with you. Now, you can have multiples of virtually any of these types, so you can have multiple principals or multiple investigators. And if you see one and you want to add another, you just go to this this gray circle with the blue plus. That's pretty standard for Protocol Builder. You'll see this come up in a number of different places. So let's say I wanted to add just add another investigator. So I'm going to go ahead and add Mark Wahlberg, who besides being a very good actor and I guess owner of Wahlburgers, also is a medical researcher. I bet you didn't know that. And so now I'm going to set him up because I want him as part of my study. And now I would set him up under one of the user roles. Normally, you're going to set people up as writers. Writers have full writing access to Protocol Builder, and they can also input people's names into the cover page. If you want somebody only to be able to read the content in the sections and then leave certain messages but not actually be able to edit things, you can choose the reviewer mode. The none mode is if you have, normally if you have somebody you want printed on the cover page, it's not going to look at the protocol. So usually that would be a VIP or something like that. So those are the three choices. So normally you would use the writer role. Normally the only time to worry about the reviewer role or whatever is if you have a protocol of something like the cure for cancer and you really want to keep a tighter rein on who's entered into it, what is entered into it, you might want to set people up as reviewers. But for many times for normal kind of stuff, just to make life easier, you might just choose writer for all of them. So this is what I would do. I would choose writer. And then I can add in my other areas. Now, I can add in medical monitors, another area, key study personnel. It could be like people like biostatisticians and those kind of folks. So I can go ahead and add all the people that I need. By the way, research administration is there as a separate slot. The reason it's a separate slot is normally those people's names are not printed on protocol cover sheets when you usually do the protocol. So if that's the way you want to do it, use research administration. If for some reason you do want that person's name printed on the cover sheet, then use key study personnel instead. So what I would do is I would go ahead and make, all the things, add the people I want to add on my first pass. Now I can come back and add people later. I can always do that. So what I want to do now is I've made my additions. Now I want to do something that's really important is I want to make sure I save my work. We make people save their work as they're going along because you're going to see that we have a real audit log that is uneditable. So we want to make sure that people, again, are just putting in what they really want and not, something that they didn't want to show up. So that's why we have them go ahead and save their work. And you can save their work, and now, I can go ahead and I can move to other sections. Now, I could just move section by section and go down the line linearly. And by the way, so what we need to do is we'll fill out the synopsis, and then we'll fill out all these ones with a plus. So we fill out the cover and then all the sections with a plus. And the plus just means that there are subsections below it. So we fill out these sections, and Protocol Builder is going to do and build out for us our reference section, our appendix section, our abbreviation section, glossaries, lists of tables. That's one of the nice things about Protocol Builder is it's going to do a lot of this kind of stuff for you. Okay, why is that popping up? Okay. It doesn't want to not pop up. Okay. Nice. All right. We'll just get past that. All right. So now, we've started our study. We can go through section by section. And so, for example, if we want to start with the synopsis, we can see all the sections that are there. We can just start adding in the sections that we want to work on. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move to a protocol with content in it already because it's actually more instructive to show you the different things we can do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up this retrospective review. And now the first thing we're going to see, which is a nice feature of Protocol Builder, when we load up any protocol that we've worked on, is we're going to see our dashboards that show us our relative completion of the protocol by major section. So you can see this is all based on basically what you guys have input. So we really tried to make this product really easy to learn and easy to use and not hard to relearn. So we try to keep things really simple. So the menu button does just one thing. It brings up the table of contents. And in the table of contents section, we can see all the sections we can work on. And then we also have the summary of changes and needs review button here as well, which I'll talk about later. So what I'm seeing here, so besides the sections, I'm seeing these green circles and checks and the gray circles and checks. Let me explain what those mean. So when you actually hit the plus, you're going to see the subsections. Now, if a subsection has a green circle and check, that means it's been marked as complete. It's been entered into and marked as complete. I'll show you that in a minute. A gray circle and check means it's been entered into and marked as a draft. Okay, so that's what those things mean. And then at the top level, at the plus, if you have a green circle and check at the plus level, it means all the subsections are actually in completed mode. And if you see a gray circle and check, it means at least one subsection is in draft mode. And if there is no circle at all, it means one subsection hasn't even been started yet. So the idea here is just to give you guys an understanding where we think we are in the process of completing this protocol. And this can be helpful for obviously working within the group. It can be very helpful for, let's say, a program director or somebody else to take a look at somebody's work and say, hey, you know, is this really ready to submit or not? And that's also one of the big benefits of these indications of how complete we are. Now, one thing I'll show you is how we actually mark this stuff, but just because I mark it complete doesn't lock it for life in that mode. We can go ahead and mark something as complete, then go ahead and re-edit it, mark it as complete, or re-edit it, mark it as draft. This is really just a tool to help us understand where we feel we are in the completion of this protocol on a by section basis. So I'm going to go ahead and load up a subsection and start actually looking how to edit. But before I do that, are there any questions or comments up to this point? Okay, take that as a no. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to edit the primary objective. Before I do that, there's a couple things I want to show you. So right now, it's in the mode where we're seeing what's already written, and this means we've edited this and added this into this protocol. So this little circle and bubble over here with the 6 by it, this is one of our collaboration tools. And this basically is a message window that's associated with the subsection. What's really nice about this is that this data stays with the protocol builder file forever. It's not printed out in the protocol, but it stays with the file. So one of the reasons people like to use this, let's say we were, doing a project where we decided on a statistical method, we're having a conversation about it, using our stuff here. We make a choice. Now it's 2 years later, and we're taking a look at the results of the study, and why we got the results we got. And one of the questions may come up is, well, didn't we talk about using different statistical methods and what that might mean and blah blah blah? And so you can kind of see it here. If you used email or some other messaging system, you might not be able to find it or correlate it to this section. So that's one of the nice little features of Protocol Builder, one of our nice collaboration features. The other thing I want to point out, remember I was talking about these tooltips. So now you see the tooltip for primary objective. This is actually the NIH approved content. So you're going to see that we've tried to give you some really nice content to understand what guidance you need to fill up this section. So I'm going to go ahead and now edit by hitting the edit button. All right, so now we have our edit window. So we're seeing a little bit of additional guidance underneath it. In this case, the guidance is saying, well, this is supposed to be the same content as primary objective in the synopsis. So one of the things a protocol builder will do is if you edit it in either place, it'll automatically edit the other place, just so we don't make a silly error. So that's one of the ways protocol builder tries to help you. So now we're seeing our editing box. You probably recognize this as kind of a Microsoft Word knockoff box. But what we've done is underneath this level below, we've added some features that Word and Google Docs don't do that well. One is we created a very easy to use scientific library, symbols library. So, that's boom, it's just done. So that's how you would add in those kinds of things. As I mentioned, Protocol Builder is going to let you build out your abbreviations, your glossary, your references and such. So we're going to go ahead and do if we want to create a abbreviation, we would just highlight the term we want to abbreviate, hit the abbreviation button here, and then we would just type in what we want this term to be. And there it is, and fix my poor spelling, and we'll go ahead and we'll save this. So now it's going to be part of this. Now, when I fly over it, you'll see it actually pops up, and it'll be put into the abbreviation section at the end of the document, which I'll show you a little bit later. Now we can also put in glossary terms. Okay, now again, I could just highlight it and put in my glossary. But remember, one of the things I showed you is we had in the resource area, we actually had a link to the clinicaltrials.gov glossary section. So for many people, it just might make sense to copy out the term here, and of course that way you're using an accepted glossary term. So, and again, this is not actually the correct term. I'm just using one for demonstration purposes. So I go ahead and I pick glossary, and then I would just go ahead and there's highlighted the term, and now I'm going to go ahead and save it. And now, so basically this glossary term is now going to be put into my glossary section. It's also a flyover. Now, one of the really nice features of Protocol Builder is how it handles references. First of all, we can go ahead and just add a reference on the fly. That's easy to do. We would just kind of add a new one, and then we can go ahead and type in all the reference stuff that we want to do. Oops. Which is pretty straightforward. The thing is, though, is that if we're doing a protocol, that means that we've probably already, have already basically done our reference searches. We've done that before we got to this stage. So basically, Protocol Builder has a means where you can bring in references that you've already pulled out of, like PubMed, or if you're using like EndNote or Zotero. We're going to let you download your references into Protocol Builder and then use Protocol Builder to create the finished product for you without having to make you do all the formatting work and numbering work and all that kind of stuff. So the way we do that, it's pretty straightforward, is first of all, we go to if we want to bring in a library, first of all, so first of all, I would go up to my profile reference guy, and in one of the few cases where we have a submenu, we have one for references. Now, I could go up to PubMed, and I could do a search here, and let's say I was going to do, heart, iron, and then I basically, in my obviously my great scientific study where I was spending a lot of time looking at all these references and making sure these are the ones I really wanted, I would choose the ones I want, and then I can just use the Send To feature in PubMed and send it to the citation manager, which creates an embed file. And then I would save it to a place that I know. So I'm going to save it over here. I'm going to save it to the section I know well, so I know where to find them. And I'm going to go ahead and save it. So I've done that at PubMed. Now, I could have done the same thing as Zotero, okay, or I'm cheap. If EndNote, if I was going to spend more money. So here's one of my studies I've done, and I can basically, what I would do is I would export that library out. It works the same way in EndNote. I would export it out. I want to export it to an RIS file. That is important. Okay, so you want to export to an RIS file and say OK. And then again, you want to pick it to a location that you know. So I'm gonna, say PCOM RIS, just for myself to know. And then I've done that. So what I can now do in Protocol Builder, when I go over to the side, is I can actually download both of those reference files I just did. And I do it just by choosing a file and then getting to the right section. And I'll go over to sample reference files, and I can pick, these ones I did. So I pick the file, then I would upload it. And if I want to do the same thing for the RIS file I do, I would just, do the same operation over again, choosing the other file. And then my references are being added to my reference database here. Now, one of the nice things is that once you've added it to your reference database, you'll be able to use it on other protocols as well, because it's very, very common for people to use, within the field they're in, to use the same references over and over again. So it's now downloaded it into Protocol Builder for us. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my content, And then I'm going to go ahead and put in a reference. Now I can see all my references here into my, this is my reference repository. Since I brought in a lot over the time, it might be easier to use some of the search terms to help me find, to find what I wanted. And I don't know, I find that. That's interesting. Let's try this. Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Such a love life.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why demonstrations are always fun. But here we go. I've actually, found some of the iron. Must be one of the ones that are in there. What I can do is I can look, and first of all, I can take a look at the reference, before I, actually, download it, or I can just go ahead and insert it. And this R tells you that I've, got a reference there. It's not numbered because we can put in other references in different places, and they'll always renumber them. But once I have the R there, I can take a look at this reference by clicking on it, having the button highlight, and then I can see what's actually in here. Now I can also clone this, and then if I want, and then choose to, let's say, put in the line number or page number or something like that, so that I can use a more specific form of this reference for this particular reference. So you have the ability to do all that stuff. You can also edit it, of course, and you can remove it if you need to. So I go ahead and save any changes I made. Now, it's into my in my reference file. So now it's here. So I can also do footnotes. So if I have a footnote I want to add, I can just add it here. I just type it in. It's going to add as a page note. And here we go. We'll go ahead and save this. And so we have that. And we can also bring in tables. So, and a table can be an Excel spreadsheet, an Excel chart, or like a PNG file or GIF file, or most of the kinds of reference files or graphics files you're going to see. If you want to add a table so that Protocol Builder can use it, you actually go to the list of tables on the menu. You click on the list of tables, and then it'll give you a place to add a table. You can see the tables that are already in there. So you would go ahead and you would add a table, and then you would just go choose the file. Now you want to give that table a label of some sort, because that's how it's going to be labeled in your documents. And you would just basically go through and find a file that you wanted to bring in. Let me just try and find some kind of any kind of graphic file here. Let's find a graphic file. Oh, here's a little graphic file. So you just go ahead and you would click on it, and it's going to tell you, well, I didn't pick the type of file type it's supported, but that's what I would do is I just choose that file, upload it, and then you would see a picture of it, and then you could have your title. Okay. So what happens is we go back to what we were editing. Okay, if we want to go ahead and add a table, like the one I supposedly added, which I didn't, but if I had added it, you just pick the table function, and then you select from the list, and you just go ahead and it'll pop it right into the protocol for you. And this is in the content area. So we also support appendixes. So again, if you chose to have this chart or other things part of the appendix, a conflict of interest document or whatever, we can go ahead and we can add appendixes, and we'll also create the appendix section, of our document. It'll create, include it in the electronic form of our documents. Now, by the way, we can have many appendixes as we want. It starts listing one. If we need a second one, we just hit the gray circle plus, and that will go ahead and give us another appendix. We can have as many as we need per subsection, and then they'll structure them at the end of the document for us in a rational manner. So now we're at a point, we've done some editing, and now, by the way, I have a feature where appropriate, we added this year. It's a sample text feature. So again, we're trying to, wherever possible, give people a kind of like a structure of text that is considered acceptable. Makes life easier, ends up making for more consistency. So you might want to look at the sample text. You can go ahead and insert it as it is. you can copy and paste it, or you can just use it as a, like a visual guide. But people have really found that to be a useful feature that we've added. So what I want to do now is I can either save this as a draft or a complete. Remember, this is important because I was talking about this is kind of communicating to other people where we feel we are on this. Now, if we save as complete, as I noticed, it's not going to lock it out from further, editing. This is just an indication that we're trying to tell ourselves where we feel we are on this project, so we can get to the point where eventually we finish all the pieces, and then it'll be a done protocol. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this as a draft. Now I can go right past this next feature by hitting skip notifications, but this is another one of the really useful collaboration features. So I can say now in the message box, I have made changes to the statistical and I'll go ahead and fix this, and blah blah blah, and I can go ahead and save this, and I can now copy the people that I want to send this to. So the way I do that is I just pick from this list of my people who are the collaborators here, and I would go and pick the ones that I want to do. By the way, we used to default where it said to everybody. We found that that was a bad choice because what happens is if you start sending emails to the biostatistician on stuff that's not really related to them, very soon they're going to stop paying attention to any of the emails. So that's something I kind of, warn you about. It's best to be, really careful about who you pick, just so that it's really relevant to them. Sounds like you've had this issue before. So now I'm going to go ahead and send notifications. By the way, if you ever see Protocol Builder, you're wondering where, if you see it spinning up here, whatever that means, it's just working. Should be pretty fast, but you never know. Sometimes the internet speeds or whatever, it can have it. So now that I've gone ahead, it's going to tell me that I've saved this method. Oh, by the way, when I showed you that feature where I was choosing people to collaborate with, I forgot to mention that what it'll do is it'll send those people an email with a link to this specific subsection, the notes that you typed in, and it'll give them the ability to say, hey, go ahead, take a look and edit this. And I'll show you in a minute where we actually have a place where we have in the program, I'll show you right now actually, why not, where we have the needs review button, which is going to show you everywhere in the, everything that people have asked you to do on this protocol. So it's going to list out, it's going to tell you who did it, when they did it, and then we're going to have the ability to use either edit it or use a special feature, which is our comparison feature. And I'm going to show that to you right now, the compare revisions feature. So the compare revisions feature you can get from the edit box, and what it's going to do is it's going to compare the last, complete version, the last version marks is complete if there is one, to the current draft or version, or it'll take the last saved draft, if we don't have a saved full version yet. So what you're seeing here is in a very visual, visceral way, it's showing you the exact ways I changed one from the other. You can see that I added this table because it's got a green square around it. You can see I added this reference because it's got a green number, and said footnote has a green number. So now I can just really easily see what has changed, and I can also see the notes that I had put here about this. Okay, so it's a nice feature to really just see the differences. And by the way, we also have every change that's ever been made to this section. So I can go ahead and pull up any other change that was ever made and now see what that was compared to the last saved version. And I can make this the most current draft. Now, why would I want to do that? It could be that, I'm working on this new approach to this section and it's just not right yet, or maybe I'm working on a group project and the group hasn't approved this approach. So, and you're about to have a meeting and you don't want to introduce things that are not approved. But one of the really nice things about Protocol Builder is any draft you ever saved is going to be saved to the audit log. So now I could go back and call that draft back up again. So let's say we have the meeting and everything's done and now I'm ready to re-edit to continue work on this new approach. I can now recall that back up, make that the current draft, and go from there. So it's just giving you a lot of flexibility in how you might want to work on this stuff. By the way, this is another spot where you can see the needs review area. Remember, I showed that to you. This is out of the compare revisions area. And this other choice, the revision log, is actually an audit log that's going to show you every change that's ever been made on this section. Okay, and it's going to tell you what kind of change it was, you know, whether it was a draft or published. And it's going to show you all the things that's ever been done. And this audit log is not editable, so it's going to be a true audit log, which is actually a benefit to people in compliance. When you're in this section, you can do a number of things. You can pull up the compare feature to compare that particular version to the last saved completed version. I can also go ahead and compare, you know, I can just see it, and I can send a message to somebody. So there's a lot of, you know, things I can do from this section. So this is up in the compare revision section, which is, again, specific to the section I'm working on. All right, so now I've worked in through here. I've been editing my protocol. I've got some nice things done. My mouse is timed out. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to get to the point where we've done a lot of stuff. We're actually ready to think about creating some output of this product now. So one of the nice things about Protocol Builder is it's going to let you create output of Word, of also PDF, and you can get it out to your folks. So the gear button down here is where all of the output is regulated from, and we try to keep it in one place to just make it simple. So when I go ahead and I click on the first kind of output we have is Preview Protocol. And Preview Protocol basically gives you a screen view of now the whole protocol together. So, you know, we've been working on the protocol more, you know, piece by piece, which made sense. But now we're trying to take a look at our whole protocol, how it's going to flow. And this could be important to us because we might say, wow, the section looks fine when it was in by itself, but when I see the way the protocol is flowing, I might want to make some changes. And what's really nice about this thing is we can go right to edit from here, or I can make a comment so that I don't have to, let's say, you know, print this out and then compare it to another version, that kind of thing. This is a really nice tool to kind of do your, you know, editing, looking at the whole document overall. And you can tell, you know, if it's in draft, it's going to say draft. If it doesn't say draft, it means it's in complete mode. So this is Preview Protocol. Another function we have out of this gear wheel is we can actually ask people to review it. And so what we can do is we can go to our overall contact list of all the people we've done in Protocol Builder, and we can choose the people we want to send it to, and then we can create a message. And what happens is it's going to send them an email with a link to this protocol in your message, you know, asking them to do the review. So this can be a nice way to, and this is within Protocol Builder, so any editing they normally do is going to show up in Protocol Builder, which is generally a good thing. Now, we do have an ability to ship outside of Protocol Builder. One of them is to use the share by email, which will send a current PDF draft to whatever email addresses you want with whatever message you want. Now, the thing to remember is that any editing that's done on that PDF, if they can, it's not going to show up in Protocol Builder. You're sending it out and out of the way for good. So, you know, again, don't use that method if you want to make sure it's kind of all kept in the string of what's going on. Now, we can also create a PDF or a Word file at any time just by clicking on either one of these two, and it'll give us a current PDF or Word file based on the status of this protocol as is. Now, let's talk about how we want to finish out a protocol to get a complete protocol that we've actually made sure it's complete and compliant. So what we want to do is we would come to the menu area and we would click on the checklist. And so what we want to do is we would need to basically bring all of the sections and subsections to green circles and checks. Okay, so we're completing all of our sections. So once we've done that, we want to then go through this checklist. Now the checklist is, again, just stuff you should be doing anyway, right? Review your cover page, review your appendices, review your references, make sure everything's right. So once you've checked all these, and these have green circles and checks by them, we can go ahead and publish a version. So let's go back to the file cabinet. Again, sorry, I'm fighting a cold. So here is some useful information now. So in the versions, draft means that it's the first version, and it's a version where the checklist has not been done. So you know that that is not a complete protocol. Now, version 2 would be the first version that has been completely done. So what happens is it's only going to show you the most current version. So it's telling you that, yes, it's gone through the checklist versioning, and now I'm at version 2. Now, this is probably what you would then print. We're just about to add a new feature, by the way, submitted to the IRB checklist box with an IRB, number. So that'll be coming up soon, or it should be out in the next month or so. But basically, this is normally what you do. You normally go ahead and bring out to version 2, and then you would, do the Word file on that. And then you would go ahead and just submit that to your IRB system the way you would normally submit anything, which is you normally would use the Word file or PDF, whatever they require. Okay, so we've now submitted to the IRB. One of the really nice features of Protocol Builder. So typically, what would happen is you'd go through, then you'd turn in this version 2 to the IRB. They might come back and say, we need you to address these three points. Okay, so you would then go into version 2 of this of your protocol. You would then address the 3 points, or and whatever else you want to change in the protocol that they asked you to do. Okay, and then you would go through the checklist function and save it again, and then you'd have version 3. Now, we have a feature built into Protocol Builder, which is really useful, which is called the Summary of Changes feature. And what it's going to do is, whenever you make changes to this version 2 of the protocol, it's going to automatically pull those out and note them over on the side here. And what it's going to give you the ability to do is to put a rationale, which you have to go and do manually, but you can go in and go down to each one of these changes and then edit in a rationale. So what happens is that this will be printed in the version of the document that you're doing. So normally what you would do is you would then complete this version 2 and then save it, and then you'd move to version 3. And what happens is among other things the Protocol Builder prints is this is actually out of the Summary of Changes section, which is at the end of the protocol it's printed. So to show you here, like we have first of all, I've got a very pretty protocol, very professional looking and clean, and again, it's doing this for them with the minimum amount of work. By the way, there's a place for the Protocol Builder administrator to put in, let's say, PCOM's confidentiality statement, so it shows up, you know what I mean? So this can all be entered in, and then normally, by the way, you'll actually see your logo will come up on this front page, for PCOM, so it looks really nice. And it's going to print out all the different pages for my cover page and all the sections, and then it's going to, at the end, it's going to put my glossaries and my list of terms and my appendices and all that stuff is going to be part of this. Again, it's doing this all for you automatically. And then at the end, so here's our appendixes, and then we'll get to the point where our references, and then we have our, summary of changes. By the way, you can turn this feature off. You do it in the main product, of course. You don't even do it here. So if you didn't want a summary of changes showing up, you just you go to summary of changes and you turn it off. Now, normally you would leave it on, and you can turn it off after the fact and then turn it back on. So sometimes people want a clean version of their protocol. Let's say it's for it's a important protocol that they just don't want the changes showing up for certain versions they're giving out. You can turn it off and then turn it back on again. But people do find this feature to be very, very nice. So that's how we would create the output of our protocol, and then we would go ahead and submit it from whatever means that they want you to do in PCOM to go ahead and submit it through your EIRB submission system. So we've gone through now pretty much all the steps to create a protocol in Protocol Builder. Do we have any questions so far? I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you.
Neil, I have just a question from the reference standpoint, because you talked about Zotero. Will it also work with RefWorks, which is a system we use here?
It should be identical.
RIS. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, so the main thing to remember when you use these output tools that are not, okay, so PubMed works on an MBib format, the kind of file they create.
Right.
And then the file type you need to use to work with us is RIS. And you'll find that there are a number of choices you can see here, like how they have all these choices.
Right above it.
Okay, right above it says RefWorks tag, so that would be good.
Okay, so this is how, so it was a very good question. That's kind of stuff that people want to know. So, okay, so we kind of got to that. Any other questions so far?
Question again on the reference. Is it in a certain format, or is it just, is it following a citation style?
Yeah, it's fun. I forgot what the format style is called. I mean, it is considered the standard. I know they were very careful about picking out.
JAMA style, because it doesn't have a lot of punctuation and it's got numbers. It's probably JAMA.
And I can look that up for you if you'd like. In fact, I'll make a note.
Just curious.
No, that's a good question.
No, but if you were bringing something in from RefWorks, you might have AMA or you might have APA. And so I just wanted to know if it followed whatever style you brought in from RefWorks or something.
Well, JAMA's in RefWorks.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no.
Nobody's ever asked me. I think the way it'll map out correctly if we use the RIS format. It'll actually map. That's where we want to map it correctly. But let's take a look. You know, it's the best way. Always best to check. You know, I actually haven't messed with reference myself, so I just didn't know. But we mention it in our literature and stuff. Okay, that's a good question. Any other questions?
Oh, one more.
All
right. Well, I want as many as you want. I have a special deal today. One question for $5. You know, 3 for $10.
When you first started, you showed us like links from PubMed and some other resources, and so I was just curious if the link from PubMed is just a generic, like if I were to Google PubMed, would I get there, or can we embed like PCOM's link, which will give people the full text?
Or any other resource.
Right.
Like Embase or Science or SciFinder. Because if we can link those directly, that would be great.
Okay, so this is the thing. So we tend to, in our general ways, you know, and it could be more than one PubMed link. I'm going to look, but it's going to take them to the basic place. But one of the things we can do we can do a customization of the resource center. So if you guys, you know, really decide that, hey, you know, we want the resource center for the residents to be something specific, you know, you can let us know. And you know, it is customization. There is some extra charge involved, but again, we just lowered our prices on all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll bake cookies and sell them in the lobby.
Well, that'll take a few years to get enough money.
Come on, Stephanie, you have an unlimited budget.
See, I shouldn't have come to the meeting. I asked too many questions.
We already have this product, right?
We already have this product, which is why we're doing this. But I wanted the office staff to be able to understand that we have it, so that when the residents come and say, I need help with blah, 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 you can say, we have Protocol Builder. And the same for the program directors. If you're working with people who want to do research or scholarly activity, this is a tool. And they don't have to physically be here for you to do it.
Right.
And
It's in the cloud.
are the, like, Mindy and all them, are they using this too for their studies? Or is this just, like,
If we already have
is this
PhD
research?
after our names, we know how to do this. I'm not trying to be a smarty pants.
Yeah.
This is for people who are new to research
Oh,
and need
okay.
some help walking through it.
So trainees,
So,
like, residents,
Anybody who's new to research,
students.
yep, residents, students, and we know
Can
it's
it
really
be for students?
bubbling up, especially with ACGME, that, you know, everybody wants to be
Yeah.
involved in some kind of activity. And this is a tool so that you're not reinventing the wheel. And one of the reasons we picked retrospective chart review, which they, you know, the federal government changed the wording of the regulations January 21st, but we'll still call it retrospective chart review for that's what it is. It's easy, and you don't have to get consent and all that other kind of fun stuff. So that's a feasible thing for residents and students to do.
Yep.
Like, they start using it.
Yep.
Now
you might find it's interesting. Some of our accounts, like McLaren, they primarily brought it in for their residents. But once the regular investigators found out they had it, they wanted to use it too because it's got some nice tools. You know, it's got better tools than really Word has, who's an experienced person.
I
So,
think our basic science faculty will like it for when the students come to them for
Right.
this kind of thing. They're like, I want to do a research project, Dr. Balin. He can refer them to this. The other thing I wanted to comment is with the sort of track changes feature, leave it on, because it's great when you're doing multi-user projects. As you know, like I'm just thinking about Dr. Glucki and Dr. Goldstein has done some of these multi-user projects where they're all having their input. But the other part is, as you can see when Neil did the demo, it said, change because the IRB asked me to. I mean, it was phrased nicer than that, but when we get to that point, when the IRB requires changes and you go in and change it, we can see that it's actually changed. Because as we have it now, we had a password protect and lock the forms because people were deleting things that they didn't think applied to them. So now it doesn't track changes because you can't once you have a password protected and locked form, and fillable form actually. Even without the password protection, once it's a fillable form, you can't do track changes or highlight or anything like change fonts or anything like that. So we're going to walk before we run and get this up and running, but we may eventually do away with the IRB form and just merge everything into protocol building.
I was gonna ask
Okay.
you that.
How do you get this
What about-
from this to the IRB form?
So you have to copy paste once you do it.
Okay.
We've already taken a look at what we could take out of the IRB form, but everybody, psychology, basic science, physicians, everybody would have to be using Protocol Builder for us to change the form, and we're not going to have a form.
Yeah.
So we're going to walk before we run.
The other question I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. The other question I had was residents and fellows also have to do quality improvement projects, and this seems specific for actual research. I was wondering if there's.
So I have a whole lecture on that I've given to some of our affiliate hospitals, but quality improvement and quality assurance projects can be not research or they can be research. So that's a whole half-hour, 45-minute lecture. So depending on how it's designed and whether or not you're going to publish it.
But I mean, is there a
There's not
package?
a separate, I don't think there is out of the template.
not yet. Not yet. Actually, just so you know, that's on our, that's,
I'm thinking like data collection,
Mm-hmm.
RedCap or any other data collection tool. Neil was talking about tables and charts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any linkages between that and this?
That's a question for Neil.
Hi, Neil.
Jane
Neil.
wants to say-
Hello.
Now another library person is asking a question.
No,
Oh, my
no,
God.
well, it's a research question, Neil. We have a,
Yeah.
Red Cap, I was gonna ask.
So
Yeah, we're
Red
gonna
Cap
ask
is like
what's different.
SurveyMonkey, only it's HIPAA compliant.
Oh.
So
I,
if you're
online.
doing a survey research project,
it's not only a survey tool, it's also
Yeah,
a
it does
data,
other
it's
things
a data capture tool.
okay.
So
So
you can
you
analyze.
can use data, you can actually input data and it will, without using the survey component to capture your data. And that's what I was thinking in terms of the whole
Okay.
table
Yeah.
formatting stuff to feed into this.
Okay.
Not necessarily the survey structure component.
Okay.
it's
Do-
both.
do you
So
get
you're
me?
right, it's both.
Yeah, but I'm really
Yeah.
talking about the data capture
Yeah.
piece. And Neil, you listening?
yes, I am listening.
Awesome.
He's not there?
Well,
Neil?
I think maybe we did lose him.
So basically,
His
right
hour's up.
now,
Snowing in
That is
California.
that.
Is he in California?
He's in the West Coast.
Yeah.
Oregon.
No, he's in Oregon.
Vegas, so hey.
barely in Oregon. I'm 10 miles into Oregon.
I forgot that Red Cap does more than that, but
Is Red Cap like,
it's free because the library is subscribing to it on behalf of the institution, just like I'm subscribing to this on behalf of the institution.
I see.
So if people want to add themselves, as long as they have a pcom.edu address, they can just go in, as Neil showed at the beginning, and add themselves in. If they don't, like Ben Lamb, who's the residency program director for plastic surgery, we had to add him in manually because he's got an msn.com address.
So they go and put their email address in and say create an account or something?
Yep, that's it. So they have to
And
do.
for
As long as they
RedCap,
have a pcom.edu account,
You
they
can
can just go in.
once
They
you
don't have
complete
to
the training,
contact
you can
us
get to
or
from our main library page.
Okay.
There's a RedCap,
Link?
under my account, there's a RedCap,
So it is linked to the library
Great,
website.
that's actually great, thank you.
And
Yeah.
so people who already had an IRB protocol.
But you have to take the training first. There is a,
Yeah. Oh,
I did
yeah,
that.
like 7 videos, something like that.
I have a login.
Yeah.
No, there's a red cap training.
A red cap training.
No, we're talking, yeah, we're
Oh,
talking a
okay.
lot of
I
training.
know, too many.
There's a lot of training.
Listen,
Get the whip in the chair.
I can't take any more training.
I
No
know.
more training.
Well, we're gonna have a training day.
We have training.
I'm gonna eat the whole cookie.
8 hours.
I know, I can't stop.
You already have active protocol, so I want to say, Dr. Calusi, not sure about you.
You moved the screen, so he must be there.
We added them in.
Hi,
Back. We
Yeah,
weren't talking about
you must have
it.
dropped them.
Neil? Hello?
Yes.
Can't
Yeah,
talk.
sorry.
No,
It's hard
he's
for me
there,
to tell.
the volume is down.
How does,
Is this muted? or-
Yeah.
no,
Which one did
we
you?
didn't touch anything.
No.
I can hear somebody in the back of the pocket.
Okay.
I'm not, is there a question there?
There's my book.
Oh, I hear him. Hold on. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, you're coming back here. Neil?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go, okay.
Yay, we lost you there for a
We
while.
were talking about.
Oh, I can hear you guys.
Oh, good. Oh, good thing we didn't say anything negative.
Christine.
I did, but I was too far away from the microphone.
So, hey, did you guys have a question? I felt like one was coming.
well, we have a product here, Neil, called Red Cap.
Yep.
And so we're trying to, which is,
I know, Nicole.
in addition to being a survey tool, it's also a data tool. And so we were just wondering if there could be some connectivity between the two.
Yeah, it's a data,
So
Neil, this is
basically-
PJ. Mhm. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Your turn.
All right. Oh, my turn. Okay, so what I was going to tell you is that Protocol Builder has made all of its fields, which are like the subtopics and stuff, they all are API enabled. So what we can do is we can do customized links with other products, such as EIRB submission systems, or people maybe said RedCap or whatever like that. So we haven't done it yet. I mean, you have to see if you really need it, but we can do it if that's what you guys really want. And what we recommend to our folks, because we have a number of people that have been thinking about customizations and stuff, I kind of try and get people to take it slowly, you know what I mean, to make sure that's what they really want, because it's kind of nothing more annoying than spending money for customization and time and trouble,
Right.
and then, and you just got it, and then you realize, no, wait a minute, I made the wrong assumptions because that's what I knew.
Yeah, Neil, there's the one thing I'm thinking of in this IRB submission process is what Jane is talking about, is RedCap actually creates a data dictionary file set. So frequently that data dictionary is what the IRB people really want to see. So, and that's typically in an Excel, CSV format, that type of thing. That's all. So it's really the data dictionary component of the data capture application, or whatever they're data capturing on, if you get me.
Now, would that be, let me just make sure I understand, would this be then like an attachment normally to a program?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's usually in a CSV format. That's how RedCap produces, and it's exportable. So, I mean, and the data dictionary is the crucial piece of that for IRB.
Sounds like we do that as an appendix.
So yeah, what I was going to say is there's a couple things you could do. I mean, first of all, you can make an appendix. And by the way, one of the things I was going to point out to you, and I said one of the things I was going to cover today was kind of what I call the clone and push technique, which what that means is, in simple terms, is that we can take one of Protocol Builder's templates out of the box, if you want to call it that, and then we can put content in it, which, by the way, could include attachments. So it could include this appendix, or it could include that attachment. It could include, some other stuff written in the text box, either require, like it could be the required content for vulnerable populations that, is required by PCOM, or, any of those kinds of things. Or like what McLaren did is they actually put stuff in that was actually designed to kind of help with the instruction, of the resident. And you can then, then you would then save this. And once you got to version 2, you would then see, it's really hard to see, but there's a little, if you're the author of it, there's this, can you see this little kind of double piece of paper? It's really faint, but it's a cloning tool, basically. So if you own that protocol, you can clone it. So what you could do is, like what McLaren did, is there a question, or am I not being clear?
Oh, you're back.
You dropped out. The audio dropped out.
Oh, I dropped. Oh, I'm
your fault.
sorry. Huh,
It's
that's
not you.
weird.
I think
It's not your
So-
fault. I think it's our.
So what I was saying, I'm not sure how much of it came across, but what I was trying to say is, so you can take an existing protocol from Protocol Builder out of the box. You can then load it up with appendixes and attachments and text and whatever you want to do. You know, save it. You have to save it up to at least version 2, and then if you're the one that owns it, you can clone it and then copy it to others. So, for example, McLaren is, you know, creating a basis, you know, that they want their residents to use, and then they basically ship it out to those residents, and then the residents change the cover page, which just takes a minute, so then it becomes, you know, their protocol. So you can see, I think I have it on this other page, you can see, you know, a person's, you know, actual protocol they did after using, you know, I use Carl Sagan's name again, after taking off the McLaren piece. So that's something you may choose to do, particularly, like I say, if you're a program director or something like that, if you want to kind of preset some of your protocols with content and such, you can do that. And then what you can do is you can push it to people so it's in their boxes directly. So what you do is you go on the cover page. So if you wanted to push this to residents, let's say you wanted to push this to, it doesn't have to be residents, I mean, it could be fellows, anybody, I'm just using it as an example. So if I wanted to, you know, push this to these people, what I would do is I would go into the cover page and I would just put the people I want to receive this in. Normally I would do it, just because normally I do it as I choose Investigator as my slot, but it doesn't, it can be any of the slots. Normally you wouldn't choose Principal, but...
What time's up?
What was the...
Keep putting quarters in the meter.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to ticket.
Sure.
It's an old faith one.
All right, I'm going to switch.
All right.
So if can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, okay. I just thought you lost me again. So yeah, we could go ahead and we could add in all this, let's say the residents that we want under Investigator, and it would push this to them, and you would just give them the instructions. Okay, now, you know, go ahead and pull out the not correct investigators and, you know, make yourself the principal and go from there. So this is a technique to kind of making sure people start with a core that you want them to start with. And as I say, it could be because you have required content in there, or sometimes you can have instructional content in there, or something that you just want to make sure is included. And again, as I say, that includes the appendices, abbreviations, and that kind of stuff. So does that help at all? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Can you go back to the list
Okay.
of the protocol templates for a moment, Neil?
The list of protocol templates?
Yeah.
Do you see it?
Okay, thanks.
Oh, by the way, just a note, you probably noticed this. So we have repository as its own separate kind of protocol, because sometimes that's what it is. But then repository is added with every protocol that it's appropriate to add it to. So it's not appropriate to add you wouldn't have it on a retrospective, right? Because you wouldn't have a repository,
Right.
but you would on a prospective, observational. So that's where your that's where your repository is, how you would choose it. And then, as we noted, also is the Nih Ind Ide Templates, basically the one they use for their grants. The social behavioral is social behavioral. It's designed for people like in social services and stuff. And interventional behavioral is normally what would be used by a psychiatrist kind of group, because that's more in medical clinical language. So this is what you would do to choose whichever ones you want. By the way, one thing about choosing, remember I showed you the decision tree, and I showed you the wizard. The wizard won't show something that you've created. So the wizard only works with the ones that are already there. So if, for example, you created your own PCOM version of a chart, a retrospective, that it will only pull out the vanilla chart retrospective, unless we do some customization and make that your thing. So you just got to remember that if you want to use one that's been customized for you, you got to pull it out from your file cabinet, and it's going to be in there for you, which again, that's why you can go ahead and put it in your residence file cabinets, because likely for them, theirs is going to be almost empty, right? Because they're, unlike me, where I've done all these over the last few years, the only one in there will probably be the one that you've given them. So it makes it really straightforward for what they're supposed to do. All right. Well, that was the content I was going to cover for today. Are there any additional questions or needs or things you'd like me to address?
I just have one more question. I'm sorry. When will this recording be available that I can send it out to the other program directors and residents?
Literally within today. I will literally do this right after. I'll do it off and save it, and you'll have it then.
So do I just go into the Go?
You don't, you want to.
He'll send us a link. Send us a link. Okay.
Take some time.
So basically, I will send you a download link. These files are very large. You know, it's going to be over 100 megabytes. So what I'll do is I'll send you a Dropbox link that you can go ahead and use. And if you like this session to use, permanently, I would recommend creating a section on wherever you like the same page you have the protocol builder link. You might want to put this up or some other place that you feel is good. And again, if you don't want to use this one, I think we did another one that I sent you, or, again, just making sure that it's covering what you want to hear and doesn't say anything you don't want them to hear. So you might want to listen to it before you post it just to make sure.
I guess, does it hear us asking you questions and everything?
Everything you asked is in here. We can go ahead. You can edit it if you want to. Some people have chosen to edit them.
We're not that sophisticated. I think we'll just post it as is.
Yeah.
Do you have a Blackboard site for the residents? Because it's such a pain to get things on the web.
They don't do anything on
doing QA projects.
So we'll talk about that.
Oh, by the way, one of the questions that came up earlier, we're actually considering one of the next protocol templates we're thinking of adding is a QI template, because people have been asking for it. So I'll let you guys know.
For a small fee, we can get you one. We'll create one.
No, actually, once it shows up, it's yours for free use. The way the subscription works, whenever we add a new protocol template. Oh, well, hey. Well, hey, if you, by the way, if you want to send me your QI template, I'm actually helping prepare the way for what we're going to do, and we actually have one from UCLA, and I think I have another one from somebody else, and I'd be happy to take a look at yours as well.
Yeah.
We'll give you credit.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
We're good. Bye.
And actually,
We'll mail
hey,
you
have a great weekend.
Thank
You
you.
Enjoy the snow.
Exactly.
Thanks.